Thanks for joining us today, everybody. We have the Aleph.im team here for a AMA with Beaxy Exchange. As many of you know, we recently listed Aleph's token on our exchange, and so we look forward to working with this team as we press forward into the future. I have Jonathan here, who is going to intro their project, and then we will launch into the questions. Jonathan, take it away.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So I am Jonathan Chamul, founder of the Aleph.im project. As you might know, the Aleph.im project is a cross-chain because we are talking with multiple blockchain network that does peer-to-peer database storage, file storage, and also messaging between chains. We aim to say that we like to decentralize the last mile of DeFi. So that's what the project is about. It's a decentralized network talking with multiple blockchains.
Okay, cool. So I think the first question we had from the user base, and I know this is kind of high level, so we'll try to dig in maybe more in detail. But what exactly is the, you say decentralizing the last mile of DeFi? What is that problem? Wherein lies the problem in that last mile of DeFi conquer?
Well, it's not like the only problem that we aim to solve, but right now the decentralized finance got a lot into the spotlight, and we feel like there is some missing spot there, because let's look at most decentralized exchanges or most decentralized exchanges aggregator, let's say. They all have routing engines that are centralized on centralized servers, or for DEX, they have order books that are off-chain. And if the company goes down, basically the whole product goes down. So since our network offers what is needed to like have decentralized databases, decentralized serverless computing, we can offer them to like become really decentralized on have all their infrastructure on the Aleph.im network and keep all the DeFi real core part on chain, so that the off-chain part is also decentralized. So that's how we think that we have like the sweet spot in between to like help the DeFi ecosystem.
Helping it grow even further, I think, and scale up is a huge aim of the company. At least, a lot of these DApps require a lot more infrastructure as you try to scale them out to more users.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick for Naeem. Naeem, you were responsible for creating Beaksy's relationship with Aleph at first and getting it listed on the exchange. I'm just curious, from your position as head of listings, what caught your eye about Aleph and what made you want to list them from a centralized exchange perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. Initially, it began by one of our users reaching out. So he reached out, told me about Aleph. I mean, I never knew anything about the project. I never knew anything about, Jonathan. So I did a bit of research and saw what they were trying to do in the space. And it was interesting. I really appreciated what they're doing. I could see that their goals and incentives were very much aligned with a centralized exchange to a certain aspect, whilst at the same time being in the sort of basket of fiat, if you will. Sorry, not fiat, DeFi. So yeah, myself and Jonathan, we started talking, and what I really liked about it was there was a lot of synergy between the two of us, right? And, I could clearly see what he was trying to achieve in the space. And, Jonathan was very understanding about our needs and expectations. We were very keen on working with them and giving them a centralized exchange venue to trade on, because I believe, I think we were one of the first ones with a decent amount of liquidity, so to speak, for Aleph. So, I think it was a great partnership. I mean, we kind of rolled it out over time and worked on it. And I think, the end result was good. But yeah, I mean, we want to work with all the best projects. and more than happy to accommodate all the best projects. And Aleph was one of them, in my perspective anyway. You know, very easy to work with, very understandable, approachable, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, that they're one of the most promising DeFi projects out there. That kind of actually leads me into the next one. So thanks for the lead in there, Naeem. I feel that the DeFi could be what brings masses into crypto, and this is again probably going to be for Jonathan, but DeFi could ultimately bring everybody across that tipping point into crypto, especially with what's going on in the world. What role does Aleph.im see themselves playing in the DeFi ecosystem if you run the clock out, let's say 3 to 5 years?
That's a really good question. We want to provide infrastructure on infrastructure layer on top of blockchains, and also for decentralized application of all kind. And we think that DeFi has a crucial role to play today. And in that crucial role, we feel that, how can I say that? We really feel that that application layer will be needed by all applications. So we really want to be that application layer that will be used by all those DeFi applications across the spectrum. And since we feel that centralized finance will slowly roll into decentralized finance across the year, we want to be placed on a key role there. I guess that means also a bigger market that we are keen on taking with a lot of our partners, which are currently Synapse.io for the KYC, decentralized identity, Jarvis, Orion, and a few others, also Ledger. I think we really want to be a key part of the DeFi of the DeFi revolution, providing that infrastructure layer, if that makes sense.
Interoperability between blockchains sitting on top and allowing dApps to scale across multiple blockchains is one of the most promising features, and it certainly distinguishes Aleph as a project as a whole. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, we also have the virtual machine system coming up in the coming months. And the virtual machine will allow to also run smart contracts on the Aleph.im network, smart contracts that would directly be cross-chain and compatible with smart contracts on-chain on multiple sites, so that we will really be able to make DeFi cross-chain using it.
Fantastic. Back to one of the Beaxy folks, just for a perspective here, helps put things in context. Steve, I think Aleph was one of Beaxy's first DeFi listings. Does the exchange see long-term value in listing further DeFi assets in this way?
Yeah, well, the short answer there is yes. At the end of the day, an exchange is no different than any other type of store. And the most important thing that keeps you in business is having products that your customers want. So when their tastes change, you have to adapt with that. There's really no debate right now that DeFi is the hottest sector of crypto. And we don't see that changing anytime soon. So, I mean, we have every intention of supporting DeFi, as long as it's popular.
Yeah, it seems like it's definitely on a Falcon 9 rocket ship right now in terms of
100%.
So we have a question sort of that we sourced from the user community here, but Jonathan, this will go back to you. In some of the previous discussions, we talked about this decentralized identity solution that Aleph.im is working on. And we see decentralized exchanges like Uniswap that do not require KYC, certainly is a certain want factor for a number of the population. But yet we see other centralized exchanges moving towards KYC, such as BitMEX. Does the identity solution that you are working on come into play here? And what are the primary applications of this feature?
Well, let's say, for example, you are making a decentralized exchange, and your goal is to, at one point, you want some assets to only be tradable by users that aren't in the United States, aren't in North Korea, etc. There is one part that we don't really publicize about our project because we feel like it's too much of a buzzword today, which is oracles. The Aleph.im network can also serve as some kind of decentralized oracles for on-chain processing. And if the KYC processor says, okay, this address there isn't from the United States, has more than 18, is more than 18 years old, and also is in Europe, okay, let's say. Then DEX can like listen to that event on chain and add it's needed. So you could add some kind of pseudo KYC requirements on a DEX that doesn't require KYC, because our system, like you do your KYC, the KYC provider stores the risk matrix, and then when a user chooses to like share its document with a centralized exchange, for example, he will share its document, and then the centralized exchange will ask with the user consent to the KYC provider, okay, give me the risk matrix on the AMA results and stuff like that. On the centralized exchange will like receive it and validate the user or not. On a decentralized exchange part, the DEX will just listen to events saying, okay, this user has passed KYC, this user isn't in the United States, this user has more than 18 years old, okay, he can trade, for example. So it's a middle ground where DEXs don't have KYC, but can still be like compliant with regulation if it's needed.
And in some ways that could help appease some of the privacy conscious folks out there who, you know, have no problem handing over their identity, but maybe don't want it held by a centralized exchange on a centralized server. Exactly. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And as well on the centralized exchange, when a user chooses to like share its identity, he can choose what part he wants to share. And if it's okay for the centralized exchange, they can ask very little information enough to say, okay, this user is validated according to like our regulation, and they won't need a lot of data actually.
This could be huge for the DeFi space, because I think one of the key criticisms of DeFi right now is that it's a little bit of the Wild West in terms of lack of any kind of certification, which sort of actually leads me into you know, talking about Uniswap. It's become one of the most popular exchanges in DeFi, and there's certainly a competition that's heating up between centralized and decentralized exchanges. Tossing the ball over to Nick Murphy here, our co-president. What do we think is the biggest advantage for centralized platforms in this DeFi CeFi contest?
Well, I think it's a very interesting time that we're at. It kind of feels like, you know, early crypto days when you could pretty much hop on any coin and buy it and ride it up. I mean, you saw the sushi and hot dog and all these wild coins coming out and being listed, not listed, I guess, because with Uniswap and the like, it's just a contract, right? So, you know, I think there's a lot of negative effects potentially on exchanges like Uniswap or decentralized exchanges that can ultimately hurt potential investors. I mean, you saw hot dog coin go from $4,000 to $4 in a matter of like what, 20 minutes, which is scary, you know. And that's kind of puts me back in the space of like, you know, if we want crypto to progress to where we all want it to be, we have to bring more, you know, clarity and regulation to the space. So with that being said, I mean, I think when it comes to centralized versus decentralized, it ultimately comes down to protecting the customers and making sure that they're safe. Now, with something like Uniswap, you know, I'm not the biggest fan because you can't see an order book. I also think that it's, you know, a little questionable. You know, we all saw ETH prices and gas prices go through the roof as DeFi heated up. And a lot of that was because of trading on Uniswap. And to buy $4 worth of an asset, you're paying $100 in fees. So, you know, do I think a decentralized exchange in the future is something that's going to be popular and usable? Yes, but I think we have a long way to go. We need things like Aleph and their identity verification and all these other tools that you guys are putting out before I think decentralized exchanges can actually be successful and usable and reliable and transparent. Jonathan, what are your thoughts, man?
Sorry, yes?
Yeah,
Do you agree? I mean, what are your thoughts on centralized versus decentralized exchanges right now?
Well, it's to be honest, I'm a big fan of Uniswap. I'm a big fan of what it allowed. Aleph.im AMA wouldn't be where it is today without Uniswap.
Right.
But what is true is that the Ethereum chain right now is a bit congested, most likely due to it as well. But the Lego DeFi system, where you can just plug items on top of others and make a lot of really interesting stuff, farming on the involves that go and do farming on other protocols, etc. It's really great. Like, we are really reinventing finance in a much more open way. But all those farming systems also have the issue is that it's some kind of pump and dump, like all those sushi swaps, well, sushi not that much, but then all the other that came later were
right.
like the first one gained because they were before, and then all the others that come later lose money. So I'm not that fond of it. It shows a lot of potential, and I think that there is a lot of work to do to make it usable. We have seen a bit of work on that end by the guys at Serum from FTX, which is really, really interesting DEX, people with whom we are working with. There is also work on the Tron. We can say whatever we want about it, but they've shown that it can work on another blockchain that is Ethereum compatible. Then there has been Byzance Smart Chain doing the same. With protocol like Aleph.im, as we envision it in the coming months and years, we can aggregate liquidity over DEXs that are all over the ecosystem and on multiple blockchains, on like Perenize that DeFi building block systems across multiple blockchains. And I think that might be one of the possible solutions to like this issue. And then when Ethereum 2 comes, the beacon chain will also be there to help.
So Jonathan, how long out do you think that is before DeFi, you know, really in the decentralized exchanges, how long out do you see that being from being a reality and more used? And, you know, and like, you know, looking at centralized exchanges, even right now, we don't have much regulation. I mean, we want it, but, you know, without clear guidelines, it's very hard to know how to handle things. So my question is how do you see the regulation taking effect on decentralized exchanges when we don't even have it really on centralized exchanges yet?
I think that the fiat on-ramp and off-ramp will serve for regulation mostly. As for regulation on the exchanges, it will really depend on what is done or not. If it's just a smart contract, you can't really regulate a smart contract in that end. So it's kind of hard. But if some protocols want to implement regulation to like become compliant so that funds that go through those DEXs don't get flagged as problematic, they will need to implement this. On the solution that we are working on for the KYC and decentralized ID will really help on that end. On other solutions that we are working on with a few other partners, those are still under NDA, about document certification and things like that will also help a lot on that end.
Awesome.
So of all those things that you're working on, which would you say is the feature that you're most excited to launch here in the near term?
Decentralized identity is quite a big thing. We will also launch the incentivized node program in the coming month, which will be quite interesting as well, and also allow staking. That part is crucial, the node incentivization, because it will really decentralize the Aleph.im network. Because the Aleph.im network is made with multiple channels on the core channel that will coordinate the whole network. Because the network is in itself is like a nebula of a lot of nodes. And the core channel is here to check that everything is working well on the network. The nodes that we will incentivize will become the core channel nodes. So that part is really crucial. And also a few other projects that we're working on with partners are really exciting, I think. Well, there is a lot of things going on. The virtual machine will also be really important.
Yeah, it seems like you guys have your hands full with quite a few irons in the fire there. I think that one of the key questions that we get, and this is apropos for the time because everybody's talking about yield farming and staking. I think there's some users out there that want to know if there's any update on Aleph's staking program and when that's going to come to fruition.
Well, on the Aleph.im staking program, as I said, we're working on the node incentive system, and the staking will go through those node incentives. To test the appetite for this, we launched today, well, we will launch tomorrow, we announced today the KuCoin PoolX soft staking so that people can stake on KuCoin to get rewards. It's mostly a test to see what is the appetite of the Aleph holders for that staking. And then we will launch the real on-chain, on-off-chain staking because the network is off-chain. Once we launch it, I think it will come in not that long, but we said in Q4, but Q4 can also be start of Q4, so it's soon. I hope so. We are still on an official line of Q4 2020 for that. The goal is to have pretty fast NFT to have the node ownership as an NFT on the Ethereum network. But the good part is that the NFT can be managed by a smart contract so that users can pool to have a node because it's quite expensive. We are okay with that. And it will also allow to delegate nodes to partners so that partners can have a node without really needing those 200K if they can't afford it for smaller partners, but we want them to have a node. And also for the staking, there will be ERC20 tokens for the stake equivalent. Those tokens will receive more tokens as time goes because they are stacking tokens. The good part with all that is that those tokens can then be reused in the DeFi ecosystem. So that if there is some yield farming protocol that wants to spin up nodes on the Aleph.im network or do staking the Aleph.im network, they can. And then let's say some protocol like Wi-Fi, waifu. I never know.
It's hard to keep it.
Yeah.
They want to come and do staking on the network on get the reward, they come. So that's the really interesting part, and it can also be used for reinsurance of the network. That's something we're working on to have some kind of insurance of the Aleph.im network data through decentralized protocols, for example.
Well, it's interesting. So the tokens can be used for reinsuring the data on the protocol.
Yeah.
Very cool. Jonathan, I think that's all the questions we had for today. We really appreciate you taking the time to share information and knowledge with our usership, as well as your users and everyone out there. And I'm sure that we will be doing this again soon, if your talent and wherewithal is any indicator. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you very much.